Here is vintage footage of Michael Boden's version of a shrinking card box combined with a signed card to box. Even though the video footage is old, I think that you will find his magical approaches new and refreshing. Let's take a look.
Keep your eye upon the pack of playing cards, because as soon as I remove the cards from the box gets a lot smaller. It actually shrinks. If you were to compare the size of that box to these cards, you'd see that there's no way for these cards to fit inside that box. We're going to have a card selected and signed by someone. So first of all, let me take out the jokers. We don't need the jokers. And I'll give the cards a shuffle. Now I'd like for someone to say stop as I ripple down the edge of the pack. I'll just have to imagine that you're out there saying that. Stop right about there. It doesn't really matter where they say stop, because you divide the pack in half and then you have them sign their name to their card. So I'll put my first name and last initial on the card. They sign the card. After that, what you want to do is you want to lose their card further down into the pack. So you want to give the cards just a couple of cuts. That's all you do. And if you take a look inside this little tiny box that's been sitting on the table the whole time, there's now one card folded up into quarters from inside the box. And believe it or not, this card just happens to be the card that I signed or that you would have signed. This is my version of the shrinking card case and my version of the card to card box, in this case miniature card box. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now let's look at the explanation. And now for the explanation of the trick. In order to perform this, you need to make up 3 different types of gaffs. First, I took a regular sized deck of bicycle playing cards and I cut the entire face plate out. Then on the bottom or the back side of that face plate, I glued a joker. Now when I glued the joker or double stick taped it on there, I only put the tape on the top portion so that the bottom portion can be opened just like so. This is very important because you have to slip this into something a little bit later on, which I'll point out at that time. The next gaff you need is a miniature deck of bicycle playing cards, which has the right side of the deck, actually of the card case, actually cut away. Cut away the entire right side. Now if I open this up, you can see that there is one miniature playing card on the inside, and I have that glued or double stick taped right along the bottom half. The reason why I only tape the bottom half is so that that card will allow the flap to be tucked down inside. This gives more structure to the card case, makes it a little bit firmer, and it keeps that flap from flopping open. So that's gaff number 2. The third gaff is a card which you're going to force upon them. This card allows you to do the Mercury card a little bit easier, at least it's easier for me. You see, the Mercury card fold you have to usually perform very quickly and jiggle the deck a little bit and riffle the deck because of the little bit of sound that it makes. And I wanted to do it very slowly, and I wanted to be a little bit easier for me. Since the card is going to be signed by a spectator, this card is going to be taken out of the deck anyway, so I would just prefer to add my gimmick cards to the deck one at a time as I perform. I don't like to use a signed card and then leave it within my deck of cards. This gaff is made up by taking a razor blade and I scored the card. I scored the back of the card this way just a couple of times so that you don't see any ridges on the front, and then I scored it the other way 3 times, real close together. I have 3 score marks on there. They're real close together because when you fold that card into quarters, you have more card thickness, and it's a little bit more difficult on that particular fold. But by scoring it 3 times, the fold becomes a lot easier. Now this is the entire setup. On the top of your deck of cards, you have the other joker, and then you have the gaff card, the card which I'm going to force upon you later, the one that's going to be signed, goes second from the top. Now this entire pack of cards gets inserted into the side of the miniature card box, just like this. It has to be, the cards are face up and the logo of the bicycle cards is up and down, just like this. Now you'll see why we have to leave the bottom edge open over here on this this gaff here. If you turn the entire pack around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to slide this joker right down along this edge, right inside the card box, just like this. What this does, it keeps that gaff from moving around on you when it's inside your pocket, so everything comes out together. You simply fold the card case, the flap of the card case over, and insert it just like this inside your shirt pocket. Now what happens is, when I bring this deck of cards out of my pocket, I usually shield it a little bit with my left hand, because as I transfer it into my right hand, the only bad angles would be this side here, which is covered by your thumb, and the opposite side, which is usually held downward, and it is covered by your fingers. Now the nice part about this shrinking card box is that you can see the entire surface of the card box before it shrinks. Not like in other versions that I've seen where you can only show half of the box or just a little bit of the box. This one you can show the entire surface of the card box. Now for the shrinking. I'm going to turn her sideways a little bit. I'm going to show you that as the deck of cards is transferred into your left hand, the right hand pushes the flap all the way around to the back side, and you grip everything. I'm going to grip the entire deck of cards plus that flap, which is now wrapped around the back side. I'm going to grab everything, pull it out, thumb fan them, and tip them towards the audience like this. In slow motion, you bring it out, you thumb fan the cards, tipping them towards the audience. That leaves you with the miniature card box left in your left hand, so that when it's time to reveal that miniature card box, you wiggle a little bit, bring the card box out, and show it on both sides. As long as you don't turn it entirely around, it's safe to lay upon the table. Now at this point, I like to fan the cards a little bit and show the size differential between that small box and that large deck of cards. By showing the differential in size when the deck of cards is fanned, it really makes that card box look a lot smaller. Now you're going to force that ace of spades, which has to be signed to the spectator. To do this, you simply give the entire pack one complete cut in half. That brings your gaff to the center of the pack. And then you start spreading down as if you remember that you left a couple of jokers in the deck. When you come to the first joker, remember your force card, the ace of spades, is going to be right there. You set the top half down, place the joker in your pocket as if you're getting rid of these. Now remember, the second joker has the gaff on the back, so don't expose that. That goes into your pocket. Then the rest of the deck go right on top of the pack on the table. At this point, I turn the pack over, and remember there's little score marks on the back of that force card? Well, they're never really seen because I turn the deck over and go immediately into an overhand shuffle. That brings that ace of spades to the bottom of the deck. And now to force the card. This is how I perform the crisscross force or the cross force. Generally, it's performed by cutting the cards and then crisscrossing them like so. But what I do is I will riffle down till they say stop. When they say stop, I put my finger in, I rotate the top half all the way over into my right hand. My left hand then pivots these cards all the way around and they get set right there as I set them down. Now if you do this in real time, it would look as though they said stop right about there. That's good. We'll just mark the place where you stop me at, and that will force the bottom card. Once again, stop right there. You lay them down. You then pick up your marker, pick up the top half of the pack, and have them sign the ace of spades. They put their signature on there. You then pick up the half of the deck that's on the table, turn them face up, slap the entire deck together. Now you're going to go into a cutting sequence. You're going to lose the card which they have signed. Let me scribble something on here for you. You're going to lose this card by cutting the deck 3 times. Now when you do this, let me turn this way so you can see. When you do this, your thumb lifts up the back edge of the card. As you rotate your left hand down, you are apparently going to reposition the deck face down like so. But in reality, because of that score line on the back side, as you rotate up, that card bends in half automatically. You then reposition the deck into your left hand, just like so, and you cut the cards 3 times. Cut off 1/3 of the pack, goes down, another third of the pack goes down. At this point, your fingers, your left fingers, are going to come underneath the pack and bend this card one more time. It would look like this. The fingers come underneath the pack and they start bending that card, just like so. So as you complete the cut, all of the attention is now out here on the pack of cards, which gets ribbon spread upon the table. Your right hand can be shown empty. Remember that the miniature deck of playing cards is laying to your right. And this card is now folded up into quarters into your left hand. Now, you notice the card will open up a little bit, and that's really very good, because what you're going to do is use that to help load it into this miniature card box. I show my right hand empty. I pick up the card box and turn it over, sort of gesturing, and as I transfer it into my left hand, watch what happens. It comes over and gets inserted right in between that fold. It gets inserted right in between the fold, and then the entire box is rotated up towards the audience. So the card box is on the table, the card is folded in your left hand. You pick up the card box, you insert it into the first fold, and you rotate your hand over to show the front of the card box. Now I'm going to turn a little bit sideways again so you can see. But what happens is your right hand is shown empty. You open up the flap of the card box and it goes all the way around the front. And it's kept there by these fingers so it doesn't pop back open like that. You see, you keep it held back with those fingers. The right hand first finger goes into the box and the thumb and first finger both grab that little miniature card, and as you bring it out, see, half of it's inside the box and the other half is on the back side. But as you bring it out, you stop halfway and flip it a couple of times like that. What that does, it sort of accents the fact, that the card is coming out from inside the card box. It is pinched between your first 2 fingers of the right hand. The card box is then reclosed, rotated back around to the good side so you can lay the card box down, and then you open up the playing card to show that it is their signed card which has left the deck and has magically reappeared inside the box.